scientific study of human language is known as linguistics. Linguistics can be divided into three categories. The first one, form of the language. The second, the meaning of the language. Third, the context of the language. On dealing with the first subcategory, the form of the language are commonly called grammar. This describes the rules to be followed by the user to form the language. It also consists of the study of composing the words and also the composition of phrases and sentences that form these words. The branch of linguistics is also related to a field called phonetics, which are the study of speech, sounds and non-speech sounds, their formation and uses. Whereas the meaning of the language deals with how logical structures are employed with languages and the references of the real world objects to convey them. They help to process and also assign the meaning so that they solve the ambiguity. It also includes the study of words and concepts that makes meaning. This study is called semantics. Also, another study called pragmatics, which deals how meaning is produced from context. The third category, context of the language, is broadly discussed in linguistics. It details the context of the language that is influenced by historical, social, cultural and political factors. In addition, it includes the evolutionary linguistic study that answers the origin and growth of language-related questions. Historical linguistics is the study which helps to explore the language change. Social linguistics discuss about the relationship between linguistic variations and structures. Psycholinguistics helps to find the language functioning in the mind. Neurolinguistics deals with processing of language in the brain. Ways of linguistic. There are many ways of doing linguistics, but the three important ways are: the first one, deep study of the language. This helps to explain the features of particular language in detail. The explanation are done under the pursuit of linguistic principles. This pursuit is part of general linguistics, but to the extent that its purpose is purely descriptive of a certain language. It can most profitably be carried out in the various language departments. The second, study of several languages and language families. It helps to obtain the theory of universality and the theory of possibility in the human languages. Third, study of linguistic behavior. In relation to other human characteristics, this implies an interdisciplinary approach with language as its focus, using subjects like psychology, sociology, anthropology, philosophy, biology, artificial intelligence, and neurophysiology in order to get a better picture of the language and the uses of language. Thus, the above three categories describe the ways of linguistic. With all the above definitions, the study of language is considered to be important. An important study which describes the influence of language on social life is called linguistic anthropology. The branch of anthropology originates from the endangered languages and composed to form language structures. Linguistic anthropology explains the ways in which languages shape the communication, identity, society, group membership, cultural beliefs in large scale and common cultural representation. This focus on the subtopics like description of grammars, linguistic topology. It classifies the language according to its structural features. The second, linguistic relativity. It formulates the pattern of the language that a person speaks. Applied linguistics is an interdisciplinary field of study that identifies, investigates, and offers solutions to language-related real-life problems. It explains the ways of accessing the language and the correct age to begin second language and the treatment of memory loss, etc. It is an area of work that deals with language use in professional settings, translation, speech pathology, literacy, and language education. And it is not the application of linguistic knowledge to such settings, but is a semi-autonomous and interdisciplinary domain of work that draws on but is not dependent on areas such as sociology, education, anthropology, cultural studies, and psychology. Paralinguistics is the study of paralanguage. It plays an important role in the human speech communication. The variations in voice dynamics like loudness, tempo, pitch, and continuity is being discussed in this. Thus, the speaker tends to speak in a high tone when excited or in anger. These non-vocal phenomena are commonly classified as paralinguistics. Historical linguistics is the study which describes about the origin of the language, its change over decades, and also details the change in language around the world. It helps in detail the language pronunciation, etc. Linguistic theory and pragmatics. The base for linguistic theory is ultimately communication between human beings. The linguist, by acts of abstraction, creates a theory about certain aspects of communication. Through a type of abstraction, there is an abstract entity of language which is involved in communication. Through another act of abstraction, things as syntactic structure, meaning, and sound are involved. In wide sense, pragmatic involves the study of all these aspects of communication. In a more restricted sense, it involves only those phenomena that communicators consciously have to take into account in order to communicate. The reasons for pragmatics is it have to do with two criteria of scientific methodology. The first one, exhaustiveness. Linguistic theory can never be exhaustive if it does not provide an account of as many as possible of the phenomena that influence the linguistic communication. There is a need for a mapping out of the phenomena that determine language use. The second, simplicity. The study of pragmatics can also be valuable from the point of view of simplicity. It is well known from the study of speech recognition and also from other areas of linguistics that the doctrine of the separation of levels, that is, phonology, morphophonemics, morphology, syntax and semantics should be kept separate both in description and explanation, leads to great difficulties for both description and explanation. Levels are kept pure and separate at the cost of descriptions and explanations or no explanations at all. Successful description and explanation require integration of levels. Pragmatic information, the information about aspects of communications, is neglected by traditional linguistic theory, is often essential in such integration to get a better picture of the components both in isolation and in interaction with each other. The study of pragmatics is therefore important for linguistic theory in providing increased exhaustiveness and simplicity, and for the study of human behavior in general, since it could make the integration of linguistics with its neighboring sciences easier. Besides making linguistic theory simpler and more exhaustive, there are also some practical applications that can be gained from a study of pragmatic phenomenon. It is clear that language learning is facilitated by the integration of the language learned in practically applied action. The question is how this best should be done. For this, we need a theory relating language uses to social action in general. Further, it also seems clear that communication, and especially linguistic communication, is one of the most important factors behind the development and change of emotions and attitudes. We have to study the way of creating the type of communication which maximizes the chance for personal growth and enhances the opportunities for effective communication in family, school, and in general. Thus, most of the linguistic work is done On the assumption of spoken language, this forms the fundamental for writing language, because speech is universal because all humans speak and hear, though they follow many cultures. Before human invented writing method, speech was in practice. Unlike writing, people speak the spoken language easily. Even child speaks first before writing. Educational programs. Many educational programs are launched nowadays in order to improve the education of hearing impaired children. Programs include an early intervention program for infants and toddlers and a preschool for children ages 3 to 5 years that will help to reduce the risk when they grow up. The first one, early intervention program. This is the program for children, a part of comprehensive statewide system of early intervention services for children birth to the age of 3 who have a hearing loss. Services are provided collaboratively by local early childhood intervention programs and local deaf education programs. Deaf education early intervention services are determined by an individual family service plan developed by the family and a team of professionals. Deaf education services are provided by a parent advisor who is a certified teacher of the deaf and hard of hearing. Parent advisors may provide answers to questions about early childhood hearing loss and communication. Show families how to care for hearing aids or cochlear implants. Assist families in developing successful communication strategies to encourage language development. Mostly these programs are done in natural setting or at child home. The second, preschool program. The other child development program is a preschool placement option for the hearing impaired. The child development program's goals and curriculum provide the basic educational framework for students enrolled through the deaf education program. Each child has additional goals and objectives selected to meet individual learning needs. Support services may include audiology, individual speech language therapy, and other services. Classes are team taught by a deaf educator and an early childhood teacher and include children who are hearing and children who are deaf or hard of hearing. Some classes use oral communication, that is, listening and spoken language, and other classes use total communication, that is, listening, spoken language, and sign language. The third, adult programs. When the child goes through the preschool program, then the hearing impairment is checked to be mild or moderate or profound and treated accordingly. The individual who is hard to hear may include much supporting depending on their individual need. Instructional support, early intervention, home campus, cluster campus, communication support, a variety of communication methodologies including auditory, oral and total communication, individualized speech, language listening therapy and instruction sign language interpreting, audiological support, assessment to meet programmatic needs, technical assistance to maintain student amplification and cochlear implants, assistive listening devices when recommended by an audiologist. The above are the supports provided to individual to make them speak. Individual Educational Program. The IEP is an important task to be developed in all schools. When a student listens to their teacher, if they have a problem in hearing, they won't expose it in public, but there will be a variation in their academics. So when there is attention paid to individuals, then the student gets a chance to meet the teacher in person to say about their problem and rectify it. These programs normally have short-term and long-term goals and deals with the environmental information also possesses the action for implementing the principles. Deaf education. Deaf education programs are programmed in according to each individual needs. Deaf educators provide set services in which deaf students receive in varying degrees based on their individual needs. It is essential for deaf education programs to be individualized to address the unique combination of needs for each student. Approaches. Different approaches are being used in schools to provide deaf educational services to students. They are classified into 4 categories according to the ratio of contact between the deaf and the normal students. Inclusion. This is a popular and result-giving approach in which the students in need of deaf education mingle with normal students to have interaction. Most schools use it only for selected students with mild to moderate deaf needs, so-called best practice. Specialized services will be provided inside or outside the classroom depending on the type of impairment. Students are led into resource room, leaving the regular class to attend some interactive sessions to receive other related services that might require specialized equipment. This is referred to as speech and language therapy. Mainstreaming. It refers to the practice of educating deaf students in classes with non-deaf students during specified time periods based on their skills. For the rest of the hours, the students are usually separated to another class. Segregation. Here, students with special needs spend no time in ordinary classes or with normal students. Segregated students may attend the same school where regular classes are provided but spend their time exclusively in a separate classroom for students with special needs. If their special class is located in an ordinary school, they may be provided opportunities for social integration. Example, eating meals with non-disabled students. These students attend the class in separate schools also. Exclusion. Students who are seriously affected by this deaf state and cannot receive any information from the school are driven out from the school. A fact is that most of the deaf students are excluded from the school. In some developing countries, since there are no legal laws for these students, even now this stage persists. In the case of the student hospitalized, then they receive group instruction and not considered to be excluded. Thus, the above factors are considered to be important in educational means. Also, there are some special instructional strategies to teach these children, and they are bilingual, bicultural education. This is an important method in which deafness are not considered as a medical issue. Alternatively, it is considered to be a cultural issue. Here, the students under this program learn ASL as first language and the spoken English as the second language. It strongly says that they both are equal languages and work for the development of both languages at appropriate levels. And so, the classes are conducted in complete visual language. Since both cannot be used simultaneously, the American Sign Language without oral or voice ASL is used. Many schools run as a residential program so that continuous learning is achieved and families visit them on weekends and holidays. Auditory, oral, verbal education. Now, these methods are generally referred to oral education, that is, listening and speaking the languages. These methods stronger the belief that the deaf children can learn without their families' non-compulsion to learn sign languages. Since most of the communicative methods include parental cooperation, which is sometimes impossible. Communication methods. As we have discussed most of the educational methods and programs above here, we are discussing the communication options. There are three important methods which provide effective communication. Oralism. It uses the oral methods of communication. That is, it considers the listening and speaking as prime mode of communication. By using the hearing aids and by the training given, the child is trained in listening to the language. When this listening training becomes successful by the children, teachers and parents collectively, the child is able to develop its speaking skills. These listening and speaking skills help the children to learn the school subjects. Benefits. It leads to better participation in cultural and social activities. It leads to easy learning. It also leads to independent communication that do not involve any translators. It also facilitates the educational development. The concerns. Even though this training supports the communication, but it is not done vigorously in India. New technology has been introduced in hearing aids, but it does not reach Indians quickly as far, and it's costly to afford also. It gives continuous training for basic communication, which may sometimes create a negative impact. The oralism progress is very slow since slow improvement adequate speech is not available. The second, sign language. It is the visual mode of primary communications. It is also commonly said the first language of the children, whereas the verbal language is the second language that is learnt in schools. The lip reading is one of the supporting systems when a person communicates with a non-hearer. Indian Sign Languages believes that a child with hearing impairment uses this language effectively. It also serves as a first language and forms the base for other languages. The benefits. Since it is a visual manual language, it is easily understood by the non-hearer. When the language development takes place at the correct age, then other developments will be right. Visual communication is easier because it could be learned without struggle and gives a pleasure in communicating. Since sign language facilitates the education methods, it gives the positive impact. The concerns. When children are born with hearing problem, they learn the sign language easily, so the children with sudden effect find it difficult. Learning sign language is inadequate in India. Total communication. It is the combination of listening and speaking mode and forms the primary mode of communication. Sign system is also used with oral mode. Speech reading is generally used as a support system. The benefits of this are, since it is the combination, the benefits of the above two methods are obtained. Conclusion. We have discussed in detail about the communication methods and the learning process. It acts as a checklist to check whether the child is traveling in the right path. It also details the teaching and learning process. In this process, the objectives or the goals are set by the institution for the children and they take the necessary steps to attain those objectives. This can be attained by teaching process or by personal interest and also by parental care. Teaching methods may include most of the new techniques in the field and also monitor whether the objectives are achieved. In India, there are exceptions also that allow non-impaired to take the required language, which reduces the pressure in them and develop their skills naturally. It is the family who should support the children and not put in stress and admit them in this appropriate school so that they can gain proper education. There is no doubt that these children have a wide range of knowledge but doesn't get the field of competing with the normal ones. So when trained, they expose themselves in the heights. Much educational programs should be conducted so that they can enhance their level of education. The impaired people should not be treated negatively, which in turn affects not only their education but also their personal life. In the above educational methods, we have come through some concerns which may act as barriers so that they must be resolved. Also, a main concern is that the technological improvement of the hearing aids has not much evolved in India, this must be taken into account from a developing country like ours.